Hello, I'm Penny Curry from St Barbe Museum and Art Gallery in the New Forest in Lymington in Hampshire. As you can imagine, things are a little bit different with us at the moment. We are currently closed due to the COVID-19 situation, but we thought it would be a good idea to think ahead and look to the future and give ourselves something to look forward to. Our exhibition that we will open with when we get to reopen will be our open exhibition, which is in its 20th year. The artists from Hampshire and Dorset and way beyond, to be honest, all submit their artwork in the hope that they are going to get into the open exhibition. It's very popular. One of our regular contributors is Pete Gilbert, who is a local, he's from the New Forest, contemporary landscape artist. And he won the Specsavers Lymington People's Choice Award in 2019, so last year. So I thought it would be a good idea to start a series of interviews from artists that have had their work in the Open in previous years. And Pete Gilbert is going to be our first. Hello, Pete. You've been submitting your artwork to the Open at St Barbe for a number of years now. What makes you keep coming back?
Well, I think St Barbe's is a terrific venue, not just for me as entering in competitions, but as a museum and a gallery. The gallery obviously interests me because I'm an artist and lucky enough to be a professional artist. But I first went to St Barbe's, the Open, that is, in, 2006, I think it was.
2006,
so it's a long time ago, yeah. And that was pretty much when my career as a full-time artist kicked off, because I actually won one of the prizes, which was the New Forest County Magazine Prize for whatever they chose to be the landscape, I think it was, yeah.
Oh, so, brilliant.
So that sort of got me started. Because of that, a gallery in Bewley saw my work and said, if you sell it, fine, but if you don't, then we'd like to hang it. As it was, it did sell, but they still contacted me and asked me whether I was a professional artist. Did I paint a lot? Was I an amateur? So I blagged a little bit and said I was full-time professional artist. I did paint a lot, but I wouldn't have called myself a professional at that stage.
Okay.
So they took me on and they hung 2 or 3 paintings, all of which sold. And, you know, galleries need to make money and they need artists that sell.
Absolutely.
So they then took me on a bit more. And then eventually I had a sort of a Pete Gilbert wall permanently in their gallery. And that all kind of kicked off from St Barbe's.
Wow.
So I've been a great fan of the gallery because of that. And any artist, I've been very lucky, but any artist can have some great work at home, but they need to find venues to put their work out. People need to see their art.
Absolutely.
And St Barbe's Open is, if you get in, then they've got a huge amount of footfall for the Open. I know there's an awful lot of people go there, and it's built up over the years a very, very good reputation. So people that go aren't just the local people who live in Lymington to go and see an exhibition. It is gallery owners and it is buyers and it is the sort of people that artists need to get on their list, if you like, of people seeing their artwork. So for me, it's a terrific starter, if you like. The Open is a starter. Enter the competition. If you don't get in, don't give up. Just enter again next year or next year. Each year they have different judges. And I've now been on judging committees and panels, so I know how it works. Each year there are people that like the sort of more abstract. There are people that like the more illustrative. So if you don't get in that first year, it's not necessarily that your artwork doesn't reach the standard that they're looking for. It's that the judges are looking for a sort of their interpretation of their way of art.
A mix of styles and things, aren't they?
Mixture of styles.
It has a great range of work in the Open.
And I was going to say, certainly for if you are just going to go and visit the Open, you're going to get a treat, because it's a great range of artwork. Right from the abstract right through to very fine detailed artwork, illustrative work, landscapes, portraits. It's a great place. So go for it.
Your original painting in 2006, I think, was of a crow. You weren't doing
that was later.
Then, or?
That was later, I think. That was 2010.
Oh, right, yeah, 2010.
Yeah, that was 2010. And I submitted again. I submit every year anyway, but because I think it's a great way to get out there. But in 2010, the St Barbe's powers that be chose my piece of artwork, which was a crow on red background, very strong. Quite unlike my normal landscape.
Yeah, no, I had a look at it earlier. It was very unlike your normal style.
Yeah, they chose that to be the poster. So obviously it was when they said, could we use your artwork for the poster, I knew I'd got in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a very striking image, isn't it? So you're known more for your contemporary landscapes around the New Forest. Have you always got places in mind that you want to paint, or do you go out looking for them?
Living in the forest is just, for a landscape artist, you couldn't ask for anywhere better. It's a continual changing palette. The colours are different every season, every day. I was going to say every season, but all the time. I live in a village called Wood Green, and there's a river at the bottom. And people have asked me in the past, well, how do you find so much to paint? And I said, well, just go down to that river. It's different every day. It's different every hour.
Yes. Because
of the changing weather, the sunlight. So, yes, the forest is a sort of huge inspiration for me. But over the years,
do you tend to paint from memory, or do you?
I'm not a plein air. I'm not a plein air artist. I'm getting a bit old for that now. I painted quite a lot outside when I was younger, but I take a sketchbook with me always. I very rarely paint directly from a photograph. I'm not anti it.
Yeah.
I don't say never paint from a photograph, but I tend not to. I tend to take a sketchbook with me wherever I go out looking for somewhere to paint. And I use soft pastels, and it's instant colour.
Yes.
So I have a biggish sketchbook, not a little one, an A3 sketch pad. And I can put in a lot of, get the composition down quickly and get in some lights and shadows and some structures of the trees and the paths. And from that point, I'm not too concerned whether I've got 3 trees on the left and 2 on the right and the right amount of branches.
Yeah.
What I try to get in my paintings is just that moment of sitting in the sunlight with a shaft of light coming through, hitting the ferns or the trees or a path of light through. It's the feeling of the place. And so my paintings aren't hugely realistic, but they are always of the place. I don't make things up.
It's like you've discovered a secret location. That's what it feels like. You're looking into something that no one else has discovered.
Every time. It's just I have done workshops where I take people out to the woods. I live in a very close to God's Hill Wood, and it's a terrific place to paint. And I get people to try to see more than what is the obvious. And I know that sounds a bit trite, if you like, but it's there. The shadows. People paint in watercolors, and they're quite wishy-washy, and they're kind of gentle. And I'm saying, look, it's almost, don't use black, but it's almost black. And then you've got those bright, jewel-like sparks of color sitting on top. If everything is a mid-tone, you might have a lovely composition, but you're going to have a dull painting. So look for the lights and look for the darks. And it's not just me telling them that's what I do. Yeah, no,
you've got a lot of light and texture in your work. When you get back to the studio, do you tend to, you work in both acrylics and oils, I know. Do you just use brushes, or do you use anything else?
Again, it's one of those things. I think the only way I can explain it is that my entire painting style is autodidactic. I have never been taught. So I have no rules. I will put watercolor on top of acrylic on top of oil pastels. I'll spray stuff and then put stuff over top of things. I use a palette knife with watercolors. I dribble and splat and spray and use paint brushes. I don't care about the rules. I care about the image that I'm trying to create, and I care passionately about that. That's why I paint all the time. I mean, I really am a sort of full-time artist now, and I go back to St Barbe's. It was St Barbe's that kicked me off. So good for them.
So Pete, you won in last year, 2019. You won the Specsavers Lymington People's Choice Award, which is the award that at St Barbe that people vote for their favourite artwork, and you won it. Which I don't know, over 800 plus people voted for your particular painting out of all 100 and whatever that are there. How did that make you feel? Because obviously you are a professional artist.
Absolutely. I mean, to win the People's Choice, I'm not putting down any of the other prizes because they're all great, but to win the People's Choice was just the best. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it made me feel really, really good. It was a nice painting. It was a very blues and sort of moody parts of the forest. But to have that many votes for that painting was, I don't know, it's kind of,
it's great.
Even at my great age at 72, I'm still thrilled. and I think if you lose that energy and that sort of enthusiasm for your own artwork, then you're on a slide downwards. I was absolutely overawed.
Good. I'm glad you deserved it. It was lovely. There were some really nice paintings in the exhibition, but so finally I'm hoping this is going to be a series of interviews of people that have entered the Open and got into the Open in here. So I'm going to be asking all of the artists a final question. So we're obviously currently in lockdown, and people that normally wouldn't pick up a brush or paint or have painted in the past all of a sudden have got time to actually paint, so they're creating lovely artwork. What would be your top tip for someone that's struggling to get started?
I have two, if that's allowed.
Two's fine.
One is get yourself a sketchbook, not a tiny teeny one, but an A3 one. Make mistakes, draw, paint, sketch on it all the time. Everything you see in your garden, if you go for a walk, sketch, draw. The thing about a sketchbook is you don't have to show anybody.
True.
It's not a final piece of artwork. It's not presenting your artwork to the public and saying, "Oh, look, this is what I've done." This is a sketchbook. You can make many, many, many mistakes, and you can learn, and you can try watercolors, as long as it's big enough to actually produce something, which is why I said don't buy a small one. Buy an A3 sketchbook. You can try pastels and pencil and biro and pen, just doodle on it all the time. Learn from the mistakes you make. And the other thing I would really recommend, if you're not sure of your own work and you're not sure of a direction to go to, then join a group. You don't have to stay with it for the rest of your life, but join a group, get involved with other artists, so that you can see that you're not the only one that's struggling.
You sort of bounce off each other when you do that, don't you? You
certainly
learn
do.
from each other, and you kind of get an energy that makes you kind of try different things that you may not try.
That's going back to the sketchbook. I think going into a group, you will hopefully the art teacher, if you've got somebody who's leading it, will give you the opportunity to do oil paintings and drawings and sketches. Life drawings, very good. You're not likely to do that on your own. It's a good thing to
Obviously, people can't do that right now, so they're going to have to
get the sketchbook. Get the sketchbook.
And also, there is an awful lot on Instagram and Facebook and on the web in general, or just there's an awful lot of creative things coming out of the isolation, aren't there? So watch all. There
is. It's just look for it. If you're interested in art, you will find it everywhere. It's kind of people who if they're not looking, they're not going to find. And I think, you know, if you want to paint, draw, you will find ways of doing it and expressing yourself.
Yeah. Well, Pete, you've been a great person as a first person for us to put on our webpage. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. And
cheers.
Hopefully we'll see you at St Barbe soon.
Absolutely. And here's to you.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, so that was the lovely Pete Gilbert, our winner of the 2019 People's Choice Award at the St Barbe Open. We are actually looking for a sponsor for the Open for 2020. If you know anyone that might be interested, or you yourself are interested, please do get in touch via our website. Thank you very much for watching.